There was a video here, guys, from Scott J called Blizzard could ban GDKPs runs now that the token is in the game. Let's see, guys.
This is something I've wanted to talk about since the WoW token was introduced, but didn't really know how. Until now. GDKP runs in Classic is definitely something you would have heard of, even if it's not a type of raid that you've joined. The general overview of it, if you aren't sure, is an item drops, there's a minimum bid set for the item with a minimum incremental increase, and the person that will pay the most for the item wins it. That gold then goes into the pot, and at the end, the pot is split evenly between all people in the raid, minus a cut which goes to the organizer or organizers.
Pretty big cut, mind you, okay? There's a reason why all these TDKP leaders are doing it, because they are making absolute insane amount of gold, and if they were to sell that gold for real life money, they could potentially be making a lot of money per raid, right? What's up, Mr. Moffat? Good to see you, bro.
The raid. I've been very vocal about my thoughts on GDKP raids over the last few years, and have even interviewed one of the leaders of a very popular GDKP group on Mirage Raceway. My thoughts on GDKP runs haven't changed. They do promote RMT. They are damaging to the pug raid scene, but on paper, they're probably the most fair and efficient way of handling loot. That does sound a bit contradictory, because I'm saying they're damaging to the pug raid scene, and then in the next breath that they're fair and the best way of handling loot. Well, hear me out. If everyone who attends a GDKP run actually had to farm the gold themselves...
This is just like a thing that would never exist in a real world. Like in a fantasy world where everything was nice and fair and everything like that, yes, that would be true. But that's just not the case. It just really isn't. But it is very true, though. The people that run these GDKPs, their raids are insanely effective. They are so fast and so clean. That's why people join them, right? You know?
Either by questing, or playing the orcs now, or using their professions. Then when it comes to raid time and an item drops, if you can't afford it, the other person has just worked harder to be able to buy that item. You take your cut from the pot this week, and your chances of that item would go up the following week, because if the same guy joins, there's less competition on it now, and you've got a bit more gold to play with than you did in the previous week. The glaringly obvious problem is that's not how it works.
86,000 gold for one piece of loot. No matter what that loot is, that is just ridiculous. I remember I did used to do GDKPs a little bit in TBC. I stopped doing them because I didn't really want to promote it on my streams and my videos and stuff like that in terms of that stuff. But there was a item, the Thoradal's bow, whatever, the legendary bow from Kil'jaeden, sold for 350,000 gold to a warrior. I don't know, man.
It's all about who can afford the most gold with real-life money.
It's insane.
This is the point of the video where the exceptions to the rule pop up in my comment section, telling me how they've done GDKP now for years and have never bought a single gold. Calm down. I believe you. But what I also believe is the gold you've been taking from the pot every week, somewhere along the line, was paid for from a dodgy website. Back in TBC, they changed how instance groups worked, which I'm sure you remember, to completely put a stop to boosting. There were many reasons for this happening, but I still firmly believe the biggest part of this was the RMT, which, by the way, means real money trade or trade-in, if you weren't sure. They even mention RMT specifically in the post back in TBC when they were implementing the dungeon change. But the basics of even that change were people would just buy gold to fund their way to level 70 in slave pens and shadow labs instead of actually leveling. It did have a knock-on effect where less people were doing dungeons normally, there were less people in the open world questing, there was tons of spam in trade chat, advertising.
It feels like at some points, man, that WoW players actually don't even want to play the game. They will take every single, like, little... Oh, in Danish we say smutvej. I don't know what the heck that's called in English. You will take every single shortcut you can to avoid playing the game. But you know what I mean, right?
And other side effects, which I'm sure I've not even thought of to mention in this video. But ultimately, the only real reason to actually make the change that they did was it was encouraging people to go and buy gold from websites and then use it to skip, essentially, to the end of the game. Now, they did this even though it was having no negative impact on the amount of money they were making. And when I say they, I mean Blizzard. In fact, they were probably making more from it because it meant you could have a second account just being sat boosted while you're on your main account carrying on about your business. Now, what is Blizzard's stance on GDKP raids? Well, you have to remember they're not new. There may be more of them now, but here is what they thought of GDKP raids all the way back in 2010.
Okay, he goes way back further than I thought he would. Back in 2010, I was about to say that they started like, I mean, I guess they in terms of Twitch and like recently they were GDKPs like in classic vanilla, like back in AQ40 and Black Lair and stuff like that. They were like a thing, but they just weren't as popular and as prevalent and like out there as they are now. They became insanely popular in TBC though during SSC and TK and stuff.
They said GDKP is not a support method of loot distribution. This player-driven form of looting is not currently prohibited. Please note the word currently. But players participate at their own risk. If you believe a scam has taken place, you're welcome to report it and we'll investigate your claims, taking what actions we deem appropriate based on the violations of our policies that are verified. The point of looking back at that post was the fact that Blizzard, even in 2010, were well aware of GDKPs and how they work, and probably the sort of corrupted side of GDKPs where it, is heavily RMT based. But they had no plans on making any changes. The whole point of that post was actually people being scammed out of gold. They were complaining on the forum saying like,
so they joined a GDKP, they got scammed out all their money, and then they complain on the forums because they allegedly got scammed in the run, right?
The person who was in charge of the pot just logged off and we never saw him again. I must admit, I've not heard of that happening in Classic, but I don't talk to every person that's ever done a GDKP. So like I say, they've always been aware of the system and even its potential issues, but never changed it. Now, if we think about this logically, the existence of GDKPs is partly due to how easy the content is in Wrath. It's quite easily puggable with a decent amount of organisation, but unfortunately, it's the kind of organisation you only really see in GDKP raids.
To be fair, though, as I said earlier, these raids are insanely organized. It is, you could say it's literally a business for them. I mean, they're literally running like a raiding business with all the gold that they do. Like some of these GDKP leaders, bro, they do like literally like 8-10 raids per day. Like they have constant raids all the time going every single day. It is absolutely ridiculous, man. It is insane. It's all spreadsheets. Yeah, it is. Because, if they were to sell off all that gold, which probably some of them do, they make a lot of profit. Back again, I've said this example a few times before when talking about GDKPs. I did the math on it back when I played TBC, how much some of those raid leaders would be making. Each raid would take approximately an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours at most. If they were to sell that gold that the GDKP leaders would make during that raid, they were looking at making like $300-400 per raid, and they do 5-8 raids per day. Dude, it is ridiculous.
We had a discussion on Discord about this last night, and the fact that we see a shift come in Cataclysm Classic where the content is significantly harder to a more retail style of RMT, which is guilds carrying a handful of people through the content for a fixed price, and they get a set amount of loot.
Tap one in the chat if you're gonna play Cataclysm, guys. Cataclysm is just around the corner, man. Right. Firelands is the best raid. I never got to do Firelands, but I heard a lot of positive stuff about that. Same thing with Throne of Thunder and Mob, right? Never got that either. Wrath is already retail light. Yeah, it is, for sure.
That may not be the case. It still may be rife with GDKPs, but if you've been watching me stream on kick.com/ScottyJ, what a great way to get it in, you'd see that I've even been doing some of the raid content recently in Kata, and normal is as hard as heroic is currently, or hard mode is currently in Wrath. But there would always be a way to use real-life money to buy items, so there's no real way to eliminate this ability at all. It just won't happen. But it does actually make it harder to do, because there won't be the sheer amount of boost runs versus GDKP runs that we see now. I feel like that's
I think the main problem maybe with this whole thing, and I don't buy gold, okay, guys? I've never bought gold. I'm just saying that now because I don't really see the purpose of it, really. I would like to attain the things within the game with the measures that I do within the game. But I think the main issue is that there is the WoW token, obviously, which we know it's there. But people still buy gold because the gold on those like bad boy websites are literally half the price of a WoW token. So it's like all the people that are buying gold, maybe there's more people buying gold in general, but the people that were like spam buying gold beforehand, they're just going to those websites and getting it for half price anyway, right? So what if Blizzard just like competed? Like what if they just cut the price in half? But maybe they don't want to do that,
Decent outline on the GDKP system.
I don't know. I feel like it's just, at this point, the economy just can't be salvaged in Wrath. It's just so far down, man.
So why am I making this video? Well, I woke up this morning feeling pretty bloody good about myself. I stayed up late last night streaming. I joined a weekly GDKP hosted by my NA guild on Mankrik. face rolled through TOGC and ended up with a reasonable cut at the end of just under 25k. Now, I'm not really doing GDKPs for gear.
Reasonable cut of 25k. Brother, back in the day, if you have 25,000 gold, you were chilling, man. And you just make that in 2 hours. Not even 2 hours. This is TUGZ. He makes that in like 30 minutes because it's such a big, fast raid.
My priest I was on is 5.2k gear score. That's fine. I'm happy with that. I don't need any upgrades to go into ICC. A person sat with hundreds of thousands of gold, so I'll never be able to buy the big boy items like Reign of the Dead. And it's just my ult, so I had the GDKP more for fun than anything else. So it doesn't really matter to me about the items. What does matter to me, though, is taking that gold cut and using at least half of the earnings on game time. I've been doing this each week for the last few weeks, and it wasn't...
Wait, is it really only 4k? That feels very, very cheap, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, so it's 7k. So I have enough for like 3 WoW tokens, basically, for 3 months of game time. So he made enough. If he was an NA... Doing that one TUGC raid gave him 3 months of game time. If he were to just buy WoW tokens from that. On EU, right?
Time. I've been doing this each week for the last few weeks, and it wasn't until I really thought about it that it dawned on me. I redeemed tokens on both my NA and EU account after the raid last night. And when you use a token, it tells you when your next sub payment's due. I'm literally subscribed on 2 accounts now until partway into 2024, just from...
My man is like just... Wait, so he's just farming GDKPs and spending all the money on game tokens? He has over like a year of like game time because he's been doing... Dude, that's actually really smart. Genuinely, that is actually very smart. It takes half an hour to do a TUGZ. And if you can get enough for 3 months of game time from the gold in one run... I mean, why wouldn't you do that, right? But...
From a few GDKP runs. I can't imagine I'm the only person who's doing this, and I also understand there'll be far more people buying the...
Yeah, dude, and then there's me, man. I'm just buying a half a year at a time, man. Dude, I'm... Whatever.
Token giving Blizzard money, then there will be people like me doing it the other way around to save a monthly sub. But the fact I'm getting to do my favourite thing in the game being raiding, getting gold to fund consumables, bombs, sappers, and all that kind of thing for my main runs... and saving myself £20 a month from a single 1 hour raid is ludicrous.
That's
it's
pretty ridiculous.
Almost too good to be true, you might be thinking. Here's the thing. Without the existence of GDKPs, I would be constantly hovering around 2 to 3k gold like I always have throughout my entire WoW career. I don't go out farming for hours. I don't really play the auction house trying to make as much gold as possible. I've always been content if I can just afford my gems, my enchants, and my raid consumables each week and have a little bit left over. That is enough for me. So having the gold to buy WoW tokens for game time would just be out of the question without the existence of GDKPs. Yeah. This is all hopefully by now starting to paint a nice picture of what the point of this video is.
Yeah.
But one last point before we move on. RMT is of course rife in every GDKP, and you would think the addition of the WoW token would make that worse. But I actually truly believe it hasn't had an effect at all.
I would say probably a little bit. I think saying that it doesn't have an effect at all is probably not very much true. Because like it does get a lot of people that wouldn't get into GDKPs and stuff like that beforehand probably do now because they can use the WoW token for that. But all the people that bought gold before still are buying it the same way that they are doing because it's way cheaper on those websites, right?
I haven't seen a massive...
I know people who pay 200 euros a month for gold. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. It is absolutely ridiculous, man. Like GDKPs definitely are a big reason for the whole like RMT to be a thing. Like that's insane. What website? I don't know what people use, like G2G or whatever. I don't buy gold, so I don't know what websites people use nowadays. But there's probably a buttload different ones.
Rise in the cost of items from pre-token to post-token, and you know why that is? The people that were buying gold before are still buying gold now. From exactly the same places.
No, I don't know, guys. Seriously, I don't buy gold. I have never bought gold ever. Okay? I just don't do it. It is what it is. What's up, Blum Bum?
And gold before, are not now buying gold just because the token's there. They're still not buying gold.
What the hell,
and when
guys?
I say the people who are buying it still are getting it from where they always have got it,
true.
Why on earth would they pay $15 for 4.2k gold on NA realms when they could spend the same amount of money and get triple that from dodgy websites? If you aren't aware, let me pull the veil back here. People who buy obscene amounts of gold to buy things like Valinir, which fragments are crazily going from anything from 15k each upwards,
insane.
Won't be spending 500...
So they're technically buying the Valinir for 2 months game time, or technically like, what, $30 or something, if you were to translate it like that. It's like each Valinir like little piece is like $30. That's ridiculous, man.
Dollars on it from gold websites and risking getting banned. They won't get banned for buying the gold because it's still cheaper to have a burner account, also known as an account you'll receive the gold on from the gold seller, then send it onto your main account, Makes sense. Even a middleman account before it lands on your main account. They're not going to buy the WoW token. So yes, buying gold, using a small portion of the gold to pay for game time on a burner account whilst also keeping your main account perfectly safe is more worthwhile and profitable than buying a WoW token. Yeah. It is literally mental. Now, I
don't know. I feel like at some point, man, people are such in a rush to get things done, and it's such in like the mindset has swapped so drastically in terms of how people play the game. Or maybe I'm just jaded and I wasn't aware of it back then, right? But it's pretty crazy, actually.
Buying up as many WoW tokens as I can each week after a GDKP. I want my WoW account to be funded until 2020.
It's always been this way? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Maybe it has always been this way, but back then I just wasn't really aware of it as I am nowadays. But people really they do their best to not play the game in a way. They really do.
2025 to 2026 as soon as possible because
GDKP rules the
game
now.
Money IRL, and I could see things changing. It's not in Blizzard's interest to let GDKPs live anymore, and I don't want you like GDKP lovers to start jumping on the hate bandwagon here, because this is not me saying that they should change it. It's me looking at it from a business perspective, you know, thinking, well, if I was Blizzard and I was watching all of these people having ridiculous amounts of gold at the end of a raid, and what they're doing with that gold is buying game time, which is game time that we could be charging them for.
Yeah.
It kind of makes sense that GDKPs were eliminated. They've said in the past they wouldn't do anything.
Because, like, instead of just... I guess they're still playing the game, but they're not paying the sub for it in the same way, right? IMO, repetitive dungeons and raids causes this. Imagine you're doing Pit of Sarin 40 times a day to buy your tier 9 armor. Repetitive dungeons and raids cost. Imagine doing Pit of Sarin 40 times a day to buy your tier 9 armor. Well, you wouldn't have to do that if the prices weren't so ridiculously insane. I think in general GDKP ain't great for the game, but it is what it is, right? It's reached a point where it's just such a big part of the game anyway. There's no real way to really stop it unless Blizzard really puts like a stop to it themselves, right? Because it's the main way that people play the game now. It really is. It's just how people do it. If you want a puck, you're probably doing a GDKP, right?
About them, but they also said in the past they wouldn't make changes to classes, and look where we are now. Doing a 1 hour raid a week and the game is free to play doesn't sound like a sustainable business.
My personal opinion has shifted. I used to view them as inherently bad, but I went a few runs with my friends and it changed my perspective. Most people placing winning bids on top tier items made their fortunes by running GDKPs on alts in previous weeks. They just play a lot. Well, it's like an infrastructure. You get into the GDKP like community, if you can call it that, and you keep getting invited into the raid, and you just get more and more gold. Like the gold just gets funneled, right? It's yeah, and then I don't know.
This model to me. I want to be perfectly clear. I am a hypocrite. I have said I don't like GDKP raids.
You could do GDKPs, get into a GDKP raid and pump and not buy gold and do it ethically, but a lot of the gold that's within those raids and that are being spended probably have been bought. And then that bought gold just turns into like that economy and eventually gets sold back, and then they buy it back, and then it just keeps going, right?
Years, but I do them every week. That's because, especially since TOGC
Money laundering? Yeah, I mean, basically.
I see literally no negatives as a regular player to not do them. If you have an ult that has high enough gear score to get in a run, you absolutely should be doing your best to get in a GDKP each week. To just use that ult to pay for your game time. It's absolutely mental to not do that.
It is pretty insane.
How many people need to be doing it before Blizzard are like, okay guys, that's it. GDKPs are banned. This, I do not know, but
I don't know. Will they ever do that, though? I don't know if they're ever going to take like a stance on it like that and like ban it outright. I'm not sure. It has one very, very rampant, but will they really go out of their way to do that? I doubt it. I really don't think so. I think I don't know how they will even be able to ban it, because like it's like people will kind of run them if they're like, oh guys, you can't do GDKPs now. People will still run them, but it's just gonna be harder to get into them, and it's gonna be more like a thing like you have to get into the club, right? They would ban half the raid community, more than half, dude. In Wrath, I think it is way more than half that are like GDKP only for sure.
Something I can kind of see coming. Any trading of mass amounts of gold or using the add-on for...
They can only ban it with personal loot and you can't trade it? Yeah, I mean, maybe, but... I don't know when personal loot was introduced, actually. It was probably at a time where I didn't play, because I don't remember when it got introduced whatsoever. I don't think I played whenever they actually made that a thing. End of Cataclysm, Mr. Pandaria? Okay, yeah, well, I didn't play then. Yeah, I wasn't playing when that happened. Titiban has been banned on 7 accounts. Well, Titiban is like the GDKP leader, right? One of them, I guess. But was that because of like his GDKP stuff, or was it because of like, other things? Level 14 green's like 150 gold a pop on Globulus. The inflation from GDKPs and gold buying is a huge issue on all the servers. Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, the economy is absolutely messed up in Wrath, for sure.
GDKP runs will be punished. I can just see them doing something, because like I say, it's not in our interest for them to do something, but it's definitely in theirs. And let's face it, I feel like
is it not in ours? I feel like maybe maybe I'm being weird with it, but like I feel like for the health of the economy in the game, maybe it would be in our interest. Maybe not for people's personal interest if they want to make more gold and like, buy the WoW token so they can like, game time and stuff like that. But I feel like in general, it's not the greatest thing for the economy and the game in general, right? But yeah, go look at the auction house and Wrath character. We did before, yeah.
If they was to get rid of them now and blame RMT for the primary reason of it being banned, we would see straight through it. It's obvious it's because of the WoW token, but I, for one, would at least understand their motivations. They are a business at the end of the day, and their ability to make profit means bigger development teams, more cash flow to work on new projects, and ultimately give us a better experience. You may be sat there thinking, well, there must be some people who do GDKPs buying the WoW token. Yeah, there probably is, and you're probably right.
Yeah.
But using the NA WoW token again as an example, it's 4.2k. That is so much of an insignificant amount of gold for $15. That won't even get you a trophy.
People are going to be buying Shadowmourne for like millions of gold, basically. Like, and if a WoW token is 4k, I don't know, that's just insane.
Crusade in a GDKP run. An item that in our main run...
GDKPs are going to be ridiculous in ICC. It really will be.
4 weeks into TOGC, we can't even give away. We see trophies going for around 12k. You'd need to spend $45 on a 245 piece of gear. You can get lucky and get in VOA, or even get a chest crafted of the same item level.
What?
And that's just a trophy for around $45. Good luck getting Death's Choice or Rain, where they're going for 150,000 gold, and you're getting your gold just from WoW tokens. It's just kind of obvious that's not where people are getting these massive, massive amounts of gold. The people who buy WoW tokens are actually people like me before doing GDKPs.
Nobody has farmed that much gold, man. Like, maybe some few... There are some people that just play the game to farm gold, but
I mean, before I just started doing these weekly when TOGC launched, I'd never done GDKPs, but I had bought tokens. Someone who's lazy and just wants a quick 4k gold to tide me over for another couple of months of consumables and gems and stuff like that. I'm being 100% open and honest here.
There are some people that auction house flip as well. That's true. Yeah,
and did buy tokens for exactly that. When we was in a pug on EU, I bought 2 WoW tokens just to buy the mammoth mount so everyone could buy water, because we didn't have a mage. I could have just gone and bought the water from a vendor and then traded it out, in hindsight, but gin and tonic.
It's cool to have the mammoth, man.
The point is, Blizzard will still make plenty of money from the WoW token, but with far less people having the ability to buy game time should they implement barriers to GDKP raids. So a change here at some point I kind of see being inevitable. Will there still be people sat on huge amounts of gold and never having to pay their sub? Sure there will be. But unless those people all of a sudden turn into the nicest people on Earth and start handing out free gold to everyone in Dalaran,
that's never going to happen, man.
Nowhere near the ease of redistribution of that gold to 24 other people. If Blizzard was to make a change, everyone will focus on the negatives. The fact that they can't make easy gold anymore, or can't just go and buy 100k gold and buy whatever items they want in a week. But there are positives that would come out of it. The people who don't do GDKPs because they don't like them or refuse to buy gold or whatever their reasons actually are, will have a larger pool of players to pug with. soft reserve runs have been...
That's the main thing. That's the thing I found really, really sad in a way, that like if you do want a puck, you kind of have to do a GDKP, and you can only join those GDKPs if you have a buttload of gold, right? And then if you want to join a soft reserve puck, there's so few of them that you can really join. Why? Yeah, she's kind of cross-eyed right now. It's just... For the pucking scene, I don't think it's that great. I think it's actually really bad for the pucking scene that GDKPs are so prevalent, because you have to have gold to be able to join those GDKPs, and you can't join a soft reserve run because there's so few of them, and they want to have you geared, right?
More popular
and most of the soft reserve pucks, yes, I agree, they are really bad in compared to the GDKPs. They really are.
And actually, that's probably my favourite form of a pug loot system. And it would actually even keep people playing.
I think rolling is fun too, though, man. You got two people rolling off like some loot and stuff like that is pretty cool. But I guess people see the fun in, like, you know, the bidding as well. People like bidding each other up.
Complained in comments on YouTube videos right here on this channel, saying they've quit because they can't find pugs, because they don't want to do GDKP runs. There would be more people playing the game, possibly, with GDKPs not existing. Don't get me wrong, I do believe the whole not being able to find normal groups is a bit of an exaggeration, because I've been in plenty of non-GDKP runs, even in the last couple of weeks. Like I said right at the start, you never get the level of organisation in a normal pug of which you do in a GDKP run, because gold and essentially real-life money is on the line in that raid.
More.
So what do you think? Will Blizzard make a change to the GDKPs eventually to ensure they can continue to line their own pocket, or will they ride it out until Cataclysm, where I see a small decline in GDKPs anyway? Do you enjoy GDKP runs?
I feel like people said the exact same thing with with Wrath, or like, what is it, into TBC? I can't remember if it was for Vanilla going into TBC or for TBC going into Wrath, but they were like, people were at least like, dude, there's no way people will be running GDKPs nowadays, like in the next expansion, because it's going to be way, way, way harder. And it just become way bigger. It just became way, way, way bigger.
Would you rather they was in the game, out the game? Do you think they have a positive effect on the game, a negative effect on the game?
Yeah.
Any of your thoughts in the comments below. And you haven't got to agree with me, like most of you don't normally agree with me, because all I do is just do a short video giving you my feelings, my points of view on a topic. And this is quite a spicy one, because there'll be a die-hard group of people that love GDKP runs, and then there'll be another group of people that hate GDKP runs.
It's like the hardcore Andes versus the non-hardcore Andes, man. There is so many different polarizing people within the World of Warcraft community, and honestly, it kind of sucks, man. I wish we could just all get along, and it would be nice, happy days, but... yeah.
So this sort of video is never going to please anyone. I've just tried to lay out the facts, and that's it. How, if they didn't exist, Blizzard absolutely would make more money. The fact that they are heavily RMT driven, which if anybody tells me that they're not in the comments,
Moralizing? They're like, you know, too poor, you know, like, you know what I mean, right?
So as always, like, subscribe. Make sure you do smash that like button. Many of you leave without, if you didn't like it, press dislike. I don't care. But press one of them, so I know if you enjoyed the video.
He doesn't care. What?
Or you didn't enjoy the video. Consider joining the channel as a member, and make sure you come follow me over on Kick to see me doing lots of Wrath, lots of Car, lots of everything, really.
Okay, well, there it is, guys. I mean, cool video. It's like a very, very, I don't know, controversial topic to talk about, I guess, because GDKPs is like, is it ruining the game? Is it better for the game? I think in general, it's worsening the experience for the overall, like, player base, perhaps. Like, the economy is an absolute shamble, and the pogging scene has been very, very poor because of that as well. It's very difficult to get into pucks that aren't GDKPs, and if you are in the non-GDKP runs, they're pretty goddamn bad. I don't know. I think in general it's not that great for the game, but that's just me. I know a lot of people enjoy it, and a lot of people are having fun with it too, which is fine as well, I guess. It's not a natural start of play. It's shit for the game. I don't think it's very great for the game personally, but I do see why people doing it, because as he's saying, if you do one TUGC, takes 30 minutes, you earn 20,000 gold, you can buy 3 months of game time. Why wouldn't you do it, right? I get that for sure. I'll link the video right here, guys. Scott G.